皆様、こんにちは。こちらは The Business of Creativity Podcast です。今日はエピソード5でテーマはビデオですね。それではお楽しみください。Okay, hi, welcome to episode 5 of the Business of Creativity. And today I've got Ben and Jake from Affari Media. Thanks for joining me, guys.
No problem at all.
You're having a good week so far.
Yeah, it's all right. Weather's gone now, but
yeah,
it comes back.
Yeah, can't wait for that weather to come back.
I'm not sure if it's going to do that.
I'm praying for Bank Holiday weekend, so it's
yeah. We're all praying. Yeah, it's really nice of you to join me. I'm really excited to talk to you today. I know we've got a lot that we want to get through. So the topic for today is cutting through the noise with creativity, and can immersive video help businesses to capture audience interest? So we're talking about a video and a lot about what you guys are doing at Affari Media. I know you've done a lot of work with Fujitsu in the area of immersive video. So we're going to be having a look at sort of trends in the area, where things are going, some of the technical kind of behind the scenes. So a lot to cover. But, first of all, we'll have our quick warm-up question. So talking about video then, can you give me your examples of favorite video advertising? And we'll go for Jake first.
Okay. So mine's the Honda cog advert. So this is essentially a broken down Honda Accord. And it just goes through, all the parts working in motion and getting to the sort of end goal. And I think for me, it's something that B2Cs get to do a lot more than B2Bs. Where it's like nothing's said in the advert, but it leaves you with something. And you never really forget it, and they don't have to sell a specific product, they just sell the brand, and that's enough to get out there. But it's just really good, great soundtrack for it. And I mean, it's been going on for, I think it's like 18 years old now.
Oh my goodness, right.
So it's been for a long time, but yeah, it's still like one of the best adverts out there.
And do you think they did it, like, was it real? Did they really
this is the thing,
magic went into that?
Yeah, some of it seems too good to be true, and I wouldn't like to be the guy who has to reset that stage if it was real, to like start from the beginning every time it went wrong. I'd like to think it was real, but it's likely not.
Yeah. That's a good choice. Thank you. And Ben, how about you?
Yeah, mine is, I can't remember the name of the logo.
Okay. Let's see if we can guess.
It's one with, what's the actor in, Jake?
The one with the actor.
Yes,
the ad with the actor in it.
Yeah, oh god, is it A-list actor?
What kind of product is it?
It's computer products.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't. I've gone blank.
That's okay.
You're not on about the HP one, are you?
Yes, the HP.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm rubbish with names. So what's the guy's
Christian Slater.
Christian Slater. That's it.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
he's been around for years.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, that's it. They created a series of adverts sort of on social medias, and they kind of wrapped everything around landing pages, around the solutions and products that they had. And Christian kind of took them on a journey instead of it just being sort of, here's a product. It kind of gave them a real sort of a background story, and then how the product works into kind of a real captivating story instead of it. Yeah. So that for me, that's kind of mine that I'd really say is a go-to to kind of start and sort of anchor on those personas that potentially looking at it.
Trying to sort of bring, can you go as far as saying bring a bit of emotion to it, or just
it's very cinematic, and you know that the production value is very high, very much like the Honda one. So it's not, it's technically, the both of them are very technically different.
Yes,
It's a printer advert, one of them. I think the first one that we did.
Yeah.
And
I need to look that up. Yeah.
It's good. I've just put it in the chat.
Okay.
essentially, like, it's an extremely boring product.
Yes.
And they wrap this whole story around it. I can't remember. I think he's called the Wolf, and he's like a hacker, and he's like, I'm going to infiltrate this business through their current commercial printer. But it's really well shot, really well done.
Oh, I need to watch that. That's brilliant, though, isn't it? When they can take something that's traditionally sort of probably thought of as very dull, and then they bring like an A-list star and create this story. I haven't seen him since Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, so that's cool. Okay, good choices there. Thank you. So today we're talking about these video experiences and how, you know, businesses can use video to kind of capture interest. And, you know, but everyone's trying to get in on the game, and, you know, how do you stand out anymore? So, you know, Affari Media, you guys there are working with a lot of different companies to try and achieve this, to sort of get in front of these audiences. So what do you guys see as the kind of creative trends? You know, what have consumers and clients been asking for? You know, maybe they've lost interest in things and they're looking at new things now. What do you think is happening? Jake, what do you reckon?
So, I mean, we work predominantly within like the B2B marketing space, to be fair, and especially within that is like sort of tech and AI companies that have come through. And some of them can be like quite reserved, and you've got to, you know, we work on like bid and tender submissions and things like that, and it's you've got to stand out against other people in your sector. And it's taking what used to be a PowerPoint presentation and just doing like a 250 words worth of voiceover video to show someone and give them that sort of lasting message at the end of it, making them remember you, giving them just enough information to warrant them being that engaged to think, I want to find out more and going further. And you can do it in a number of ways, like how you style it, the emotion that you can bring with your voiceover actor, or the audio that you use as well.
Right.
And it's just getting all those puzzle pieces together, because most of the topics that they're talking about can be extremely technical, and they're not great to come over on like a more sort of personal level. It's more like data sheets and things like that. Transferring that into something that can be fun and exciting is sort of the challenge, but that's where it's pushing more towards. You know, I've seen so many scrap traditional forms of media for more sort of 2D and 3D animation routes. Live action still used to a certain extent. However, I think even that's coming down more and more now, especially with the whole lockdown and pandemic, because you can get a studio to create these at pace. I mean, we're creating them at the moment, like 2D animation for, you know, 6-7 working days, and everything's done end to end. So, you know, it's just the speed that you can get them out and the style that you can add to them as well, to be honest.
Yeah. And just so you know, people who are watching, so what's your specific role at Affari Media, Jake? What element are you kind of dealing with?
So I'm associate director at Affari Media, but realistically, it's a sort of split role between the project management that we do and a sort of client executive role as well.
Right. Okay, great. And so, Ben, how about you? What do you kind of see as happening on this scene, really?
Yeah, it's, I think one of the key things is kind of a bit of re-education as well with clients, is that yes, they've been sort of invested in traditional kind of print, web, and so on, and it's kind of, people are even more lazy these days, and they want to consume content like now. So we you know, there's certain instances where we kind of propose and put forward the fact that you can have this all encompassing video, strip things back, and really deliver the message forward. But the key is, how can we explode that video as well? How can we take elements and repurpose and redistribute so clients are getting kind of maximum bang for the buck?
Yes.
And that is kind of, and a lot more people are sort of kind of tuning into that now as well, because you know, with COVID and budgets kind of shrinking, and kind of everyone's sort of tying down a little, you know, getting in the bunkers a little bit, they're wanting to get more and more for the money. Why not reuse, repurpose, and kind of re-deliver things on different platforms, saying the same message?
So I mean, absolutely, obviously COVID has had a massive impact. So do you feel like kind of companies are kind of coming out of that now and sort of up for new projects? And
we've seen kind of a turn over the past I'd say couple of months, really, haven't we, Jake?
2 months. I mean, you've got a lot of event spaces opening back up again. You've got, because especially we work within a few sort of sales departments with our clients, the ability for them to go and see their clients again, you know, host town hall meetings or anything like that, and you know, get back into real business development. So it's much bigger now for them, and just the fact that now they need a new asset to go out to people. But I think the other side of it is, and Ben alluded to it, it's not the same way to market to people working from home now. You can't send stuff that's like direct mail or anything like that anymore, expecting someone at the other end to get it, because no one's going to forward it onto the home address necessarily. So I think now, like video, you know, wrapped in web in some format is going to be huge, because that's the way for you to get through to your audience. And like Ben says, you need to get that message wrapped up extremely quickly for someone to engage with it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's bombarded, aren't they, by sort of marketing messages, and then, you know, a trend kind of hits and everybody's doing it, and you know, it's sort of like a race to kind of keep up, and or keep, you know, some people keep ahead, some people just keep up, you know, but you feel that animation is kind of, it's sort of in demand at the moment then?
I think it's the fact that there's no ceiling to it as well. You know, anything is possible. We can create a product animation in 3D that is very close to that actual product, so we can kind of go out and launch a product before it's been made within the factory. So, and then there's kind of the other end of sort of the 2D, you know, because there's always different sorts of budgets available, and we can really work with the client on how best we can utilize their budget and push what they need forward. So I think it's just a case that anything is possible. And also that opportunity, you know, hopefully in the coming months, we like to kind of have that mixed medium of maybe 2D and real life footage, or 3D and real life footage. Hopefully that comes more to fruition over the next few months, as you know, as doors open and people want to really sort of spark more engagement and maybe make it more human.
And Ben, just remind us briefly then your sort of specific role within this sort of video creation process then.
So I'm one of the co-founders of Affari Media. I'm creative director, but I work very closely with Jake, sort of on sort of client, you know, touching base with clients and working out proposals and how best to utilize what they have and our core skill set within Affari, and then kind of taking that transition with Jake and PMs through to the various parts of the studio, the departments, and then kind of just bridging that gap, but then also kind of day-to-day sort of run-ins of what we all try to achieve within Affari.
And so you said that, you know, you obviously do a lot of B2B video, but it's within sort of the bidding process for your clients, so they're using that now to win these tenders and things.
Definitely. I mean, it was I think for that side of it, because we still do like your product marketing, portfolio marketing, and account-based marketing, everything else, but I think within the sort of bidding sales process, it was so like, you know, 20-page to 50-page Word doc, and that's how we hand it in. Now it's just the fact that, like, look, let's take your exec summary, make that into a more human script, like someone's going to talk about it rather than you just reading it, and put that into an animation, grab someone's attention. Because the other thing is, most of these people are in the room for, you know, 2 to 4 hours when they're pitching. And if you're just taking them through a static PowerPoint for the whole day, they just can't wait to get out of the room. That's it.
I think one of the other things as well is that, because you know, our clients, and we work with them, and they build up great relationships with people that they're kind of pitching to. They know that sort of on a personal level as well. And there's been instances where we've created characters within the animation that are specifically that person they're trying to target. So there'll be a group of individuals, and they'll spot them out every now and again. And then to kind of follow up, we'll you know, there might be a frame with that character in they can send to. It's, again, just adding that personal element.
That sounds fantastic. And I mean, I remember I came down to your offices, oh gosh, I don't know when it was now, a couple of years ago, and I remember sort of meeting you guys, and So I honestly felt like I've just spent like a day, an afternoon in the future, you know, with all this sort of the virtual reality like video, you know, sort of being inside of a building, and oh my God, it was amazing. So that was really interesting to see, and yeah, it just brings it to sort of a whole new level. So what would be great is to hear a bit about the kind of technical and creative process behind all of this then. So when you're sort of working with these clients, you know, what is the process, you know, what are the pressures, what are the tech skills involved? I remember Craig, who's obviously another founder of Affari Media, was saying that you know, a while ago, that you know, especially in Nottingham, there weren't even these skills around, and you've actually sort of helped to sort of train students up at Nottingham Trent University to have the skills to make these projects. So just sort of maybe take us through the creative and the technical process a little bit for making this type of video for clients.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, the main thing that we do is we know a huge amount of the clients that we have, their products offerings. We're always keeping ourselves up to speed. You know, most of our team can sort of go through the brand guidelines off by heart. So having that nailed down, and then also taking into account who they're pitching to, is huge. We've spent so much more time, especially the last 2 years, on who they're going out to in terms of the demographic, user personas or anything like that, because a lot of what we're doing, even if it's video, VR, or something that's, you know, quite interactive online, someone's going to receive that, and if they can't work with it within a sort of quick 5 seconds or something, that's the switch off point for it.
Yeah.
So it's that thing of like, we want to be as sort of fancy as we can with what we're putting out, and people to really take something away from it. But at the same time, you have to be very careful with then like, let's not go overboard on how someone just accesses the content, because that's essentially the most important thing. But for us, whatever we're doing is the huge amount of briefing time that we take initially, get all the questions done, quickly get to like a concept stage for the client to sign off and see if they're happy with it. If needed, we can like test that out with a small group or something and get some feedback based on that as well. But the main thing is just nailing down those initial requirements, because, you know, sometimes we just get a call and it's like, you know, you've only got a few days to pull all of this together.
Wow.
So it's getting it done as quick as possible. But like I say, some of the clients that we've been with for a few years, very aware of like, you know, all the brand guidelines or anything like that. So it's much easier for us to quickly pick one of those projects up and just say, right, it's not a problem to get that done in like 3-4 days, something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, there's kind of like that whole education process. We don't just sort of chuck something that looks great in front of the client and go, there you go. It's kind of, we get them to understand why things are done in a certain way. Why, you know, why we're using specific colors. There's glow here because you're going to be sat there. The sound, the audio travels with you. There needs to be, you know, some directional elements. We don't want them to feel like sick when they're wandering around, and you know, so there's so many things that the guys have to take into consideration just to make sure that, you know, and all the testing, that the end user actually gets what's needed. It all anchors on a script, very much like we create an animation. The script is the backbone, and everything else just kind of brings it to life. And yeah, the guys have created some fantastic stuff. I mean, we was when was it? We was in Munich in 2019, which was the last big sort of Fujitsu get together.
Okay.
And we had an experience there that was it was kind of, it was a future vision, wasn't it, Jake?
Yeah, a few years in the future, like the products and services that they want to sort of globally offer. But again, it's things like that, and Ben's alluded to it, that you have to be so careful in who might jump onto the experience, because obviously with VR there's like gamification, interactivity involved, but realistically you can only take it too far for specific audiences. If it was a bid scenario and it's like, we know the people that we're talking to, you know, you can go to a huge length, but it's that balance of giving someone the illusion of freedom within an experience when realistically they are on a linear path, but we've just made it feel a certain way, that they're free to go and interact with all these things. But there's always a core line of messaging that we always want people to understand within any project that we have.
Yeah. So it's a bit like, what we've said, sort of one of these choose your own adventure books where,
That's it.
you sort of, you have a look around, and then you can sort of choose what bit of information you want to sort of learn more about, and giving people that, feeling of kind of control, instead of sort of being overwhelmed by just a massive amount of information, that you sort of say, look, here's what we've got, and you choose what you really sort of want to look into, and sort of tailoring that experience for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so, but when you're like making these videos then, and you sort of talked about, the sign off for the concept with the client, I mean, how much like freedom do you get, or is there a lot of backwards and forwards, and do you have sort of ideas and think it should be like this, but then sort of maybe the client comes back and
I think
how does that work?
I think it's kind of back in the early stages, we was very much led by the client, but over the years we've kind of gained the trust, and they kind of go, here, as crude as this, here's a PowerPoint. Okay. We create a script from that, and there might be a few, versions that we go through on the script, but we do as much as possible in that early stage, because as soon as we jump over to sort of the concept, past the concept and the development side of things, it's so hard to kind of make the changes, because we're creating the final thing. So a lot anchors on that kind of that briefing, through to conceptual, through to scripting, through to the voiceovers that are needed. What sort of person do we want to represent this solution? So it's complex, but we make it as easy as possible for the client. I think that, I hope you agree, Jay, but our clients really do kind of trust us, because they get us, and they kind of, you've been doing this for a long time, you're the experts, we want you to tell us how we need to do it. And we always say to them, always push back, but we will do the same. So it'll be both ways. Which is great.
Perfect, isn't it? That sounds like, that's the ideal, isn't it? I guess that you can sort of real collaboration, but also that sort of creative freedom, and like you said, that trust as well. I mean, that sort of must be really rewarding for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's the most important piece, because like within that, it works both ways. When VR started, everyone was like, oh, I really want to get a VR experience out. This is the sort of content that I've got. We'd look at some of these briefs and we'd have to get back to them and say, like, at best, this makes sense to be in a brochure. And that is literally, that was our like professional opinion on it. And but they're so excited that the fact that they could do VR, but it was like, it's such a waste of resource for what it is you're looking to get.
Don't do it for the sake of doing it. It's kind of, you don't have to have everything sort of all singing or dancing. Do it for the right thing. Don't recreate something that already exists in reality, unless you can't physically get there.
We've made a lot of changes in that respect. It's making sure that we work with the client to get exactly what's going to work for them and their targets, I suppose, whatever medium that could be in some instances.
And so, do you have a favorite project? We've got some examples. I've got some examples of what you've been doing, if you wanted to have a look at any of those together. But have you got a favorite project that you've worked on?
Yeah, I think so. I picked out some of those. So the first one there is a financial services animation that we did for Fujitsu, and this must now be 6-7 years ago. And it was literally our two sort of head designers turned around to us and said, look, we've really been looking to get into sort of motion design. The next job that we have, how do you feel about giving us a go and seeing what we can come out with? And that is essentially what those two pulled out the bag themselves, just learning motion design on their own time.
Wow.
So it was always a good project for that, because it was like, the client not necessarily knowing everything that went into it, because obviously at first even we were skeptical. So we said, put us together the style frame, the storyboard, and we'll see where it goes. And then they came out with this and we were extremely excited. And then from there, that same team if you look at, I think there's an RM Integris example there.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a sort of education services provider and hardware. They had how should they describe it? It was essentially like a bulk of sort of software that they had in a suite for schools to manage various different processes.
Oh, what? Sorry, just say that again.
Yeah, it's just like a management suite for schools to
okay.
run a load of processes for them, make like the teacher's life easier, whoever's working in the office and things. And they'd not marketed it for about 15 years. So it was really dated, but the one thing they did have was it was a good product and most schools were keeping it. And we, again, this was a tender that we had to do, went in and did the pitch. And the fact that we took these, they're basically just imagine it as like anything like an Internet Explorer or, even like Spotify app, something like that. That they were the screens that we're looking at of like, oh, this is how someone interacts with this, this, and this. Yeah. And the fact that the guys just took that away and created all these huge 3D models and everything for it and showed us how we can actually add and make a 3D animation out of what we have and also include sort of real life stock and everything like that in it was really good because it shows that evolution of what we've done. Yeah. And then following on from that, the last file that I've provided is the healthcare video. So this is our completely interactive video experience. Yeah. I think we only got full sign off about 2-3 months ago. Yeah. On that one. And that shows the progression because now it's like Mike, for instance, one of our motion designers, extremely talented at what he does in terms of quality. We've got some product videos where it's all 3D rendered. People think it's like we've actually took real life photography of the products on location and stuff, but it's not. No, it's all just generated by him. But that healthcare one shows that like he's taking it everywhere that he can with the quality of it. But now the rest of the team have sort of helped move the functionality of what you can do with the video to sort of further that lifespan of it as well. So that healthcare one pretty much has like 20 to 30 pages of a publication worth of content within it. Right. But you can explore all of that at your own pace.
That's amazing, so it's isn't it?
That freedom to choose, because before we'd be creating publications and putting the videos within them online. Yeah. And now it's just completely turned on itself where now you can have the video and you can access all of this information through that video and at your own pace. So there's also tracking with it as well, so you can see what people are actually interested in. So if anyone follows up from a sales team, they know where to start the conversation. And also, if you look at amending it later down the line or adding to it, you know what information's not really doing so well, so where not spend the resource and the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
It's absolutely fascinating, and we've looked at some of these examples, and it just going to work every day must be pretty fun for you guys. Yeah, it looks incredible. But let's just as a final question that I want to ask is if this is the kind of stuff that you're doing now, what is the future of video? Because I just I can't imagine how do you top this? Where does it go next? What do you think?
Do you want to go first, Ben, or yeah?
Sorry for the slightly just small question.
I think that sort of how people are engaging with video now and what is possible. Naturally, if you look at sort of the sort of augmented reality, virtual reality, and how that's progressed over the past sort of 5 years, and videos kind of fell along, sort of sat alongside that because it's such a supporting arm to those. It's the same techniques and skills apart from a development level.
Right.
But for me, it's kind of it's definitely human video with kind of maybe sort of let's say when you go onto a website and there is somebody that greets you, traditionally you see it in the bottom corner, there'll be like a little chat bot that turns up. We're starting to see these sort of video chat bots appear, and it's kind of like I'm talking to you now, and then I'm discussing about what we could do for you, so on and so on. But then there's options appear, and you can go, right, I want to go down that path, and then I appear again and give you a bit more information, and kind of consuming information that way through video. allows me to kind of go, right, you're the right person or the wrong person for me, my company, and I can make a decision. And you know, I've gone down that path. You know, naturally, it's a path that is kind of orchestrated by marketing and the route that we want them to go down. But we're kind of we're hitting those KPIs to make them think and question what they're doing, or answer questions, and then go through to a call to action and take it on the next step. Maybe receive a personalized video on email, opening up that discussion, and it might be a two-way discussion. You know, I record a video, they record a video. So for me, that's kind of, it's more sort of personalized video, but using technologies like interactive video to kind of facilitate it.
Yeah. Jake, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think like the personalized video angle, I mean, it's something that for about 4 years we've been talking about now, because it's, you know, sometimes we get to speak to people direct with what we're doing. It's not a mass audience. Sometimes it's soul targets, which is good because you can really play on that relationship we have with them. I think for me now, especially with the way that the workforce has sort of moved around, it's still personalized video, but realistically that person who's viewing it is going to personalize it themselves. If you give them that freedom of choice, you give them a level of interactivity to make them think that they're part of what it is that you've put forward. You know, any sort of gamification or interactivity within an experience that's online for people, usually used for marketing purposes. I think it's like 35 times more in terms of like retention rate of what they're taking away from it, which is huge.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're directly selling through it, it's 10 times more likely to make that step for your call to action.
Right.
And like for marketers, that's huge. You know, that's completely changing the landscape of what you're doing. I'm not going to say it's going to work in all instances, because you still have to make sure that the content in there is right and that the people are going to go with it. It's not just the functionality itself that's pushing these stats. But I think giving that control back to the user and them knowing that like they're not being forced to watch anything. They've not got to sit through 3 minutes of video where only 20 seconds might be pertinent to them. They've not got to go through a brochure that's 20 pages and it's only pages 4 to 7 that they're interested in. Just be like, look, this is the experience. There's like an encyclopedia's worth of content in there, right?
Yeah.
But none of that matters. It's whatever you want to click on and however you want to do it. And I think that's going to be more and more, because I mean, we've seen like the biggest part of our business a few years ago was core graphic design services. So, you know, like brochure design was a big thing for us in online publications.
Yeah.
Over time now we're seeing a massive trend just towards video and web as the two main things. Obviously video then branches off into a few other things, and obviously you need graphic design to assist with sort of web design and making sure that you get a nice balance between the two.
Yeah.
But I think it just shows now that people are using video and web in tandem to create completely different sort of mediums and ways that people can interact. We've got our VR developer, for instance, just went through today what he's doing in that space, but it's not necessarily for a VR headset. It's a game that you can access online, and he's using sort of more game developer skills to bring that to life.
Wow.
But we're making it in a way that he's got loads of modular assets for us to use and know about, and then create whatever sort of story or content we want off from that, and just say, okay, let's use asset 1, 2, 3, and 5, and then this is a way that we want someone to get through it, and this is the content we want to deliver. I think things like that, wherever it's more interactive for the user, they feel involved with it, they're going to take more away from it.
I think it's the interactive but accessible. And that was one of the key things that we put forward to Dom in development, is that, you know, it's great to all have a headset or the right device to view something, but we want something that everybody can view. And kind of sort of Dom's looking into real-time rendering, so you're kind of using the internet and a server and whatnot to render something, so your device could in essence not be great, but so long as you've got a relatively good signal, it kind of can deliver you these amazing things. But again, accessibility is really key on anything that we do.
Wow. I mean, that sounds amazing. So, you know, the businesses that can kind of capture people's attention quickly and get and that people feel like they can get the information, the specific bit of information that they want straight away, and it's kind of personalized to them, and they had some choice in that path, and those will be the businesses that will win in the end. In the future,
definitely simplify things. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. When we first started designing websites many years ago, it was so hard to navigate.
Right.
Well, that's why we've got UX UI designers now that kind of figure all that out for us, to make sure that, working alongside the content writers, that, you know, we're giving people the opportunity to make a decision, not just bombarding them with content.
Yeah, it's that visual language when you're designing everything as well. It's like why I picked the Honda advert. There's not a great deal said within it, but it's just this sort of universal thing of like, I know what I'm understanding here. And you can easily do that with the right sort of UI design and user experience as well.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there for today. But thank you so much for talking to me. It's absolutely fascinating what you guys do, and it's kind of exciting to think, you know, where it will all go. So I wish you all the best, and we'll keep in touch. And just have fun creating.
We will. We do on a daily basis.
I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Okay, thanks guys. Speak again soon.
Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.